So welcome back, part 2 of our try and fly here with the Airfoillabs Kingair 350, and I have saved the situation the last time. After the first part I used the XP11 situation to set up the airplane and the time and the weather and all that, and now I'm going to try and see if I can actually use this pre-taxi that I did, and I hope that that will recover all the settings that I had. I actually just realized that apparently all the radios are off. But I don't seem to be... okay, it's the inner ring. Yeah, it's the difficulties with the usual explain antenna ADF. Okay, and on. So now all the radios are on. Okay. I thought that I did have 122.8. Okay, then I need to bring it up. Okay, 109.5 for the that's the IMME. And now let's quickly check if all the flight plans and legs are still there. It appears to be almost okay. The climb speed, that it did not remember, but that's explain for you. So we'll put that here, then we put the 5000. Then for the cruise, it's okay, but it's a little bit fast. So I put this on 250. And for the descent, again, oops, we need the transition, and I think I wasn't able to change that, right? So /250. No, that was not possible. 0.50. No, okay. Anyway, not so bad. Let's quickly check if, yeah, this little looks okay. Good to know. So with this switch we can make changes to the HSI. Oh, I can't even get the... Hang on, I can get the map to the HSI. Oh, very good. Alright, so this is the heading sync. This is the heading sync button. So here I could sync the heading with the current one, but that's actually not what I wanted to do. I actually wanted to put this on 80. Unfortunately, it doesn't show us any indication of the heading. We could, can we call this up as a 2D window? Hang on. Let's go to the autopilot 2D window and then have a look. So, nav data, TTG, GSP, estimated course. Okay, this is the course. Because we're probably now in the mode for the course course FX. It's radar, so that's probably a radar overlay. Decision height set. I don't know where we would be able to see this. Probably here. There we go. Now let's put a decision height of 200 here. It's down here. Radar altitude test. I can actually go and change the brightness of the displays. Nice. Cursor cross transfer or something. I need to read what that is. And that is the zoom basically here. Nice. Okay, so this is the autopilot. We had done the tests there. Very nice. I'm going to externalize this window because that makes it a little bit easier for me. And we still have a lot of yellow lights here. And I might actually want to have a better look at this here. Yeah, this is not exactly practical. Is there a way to... No, there's no 2D window for that. So, we have both engine anti-ices on. Actually, we do not need the engine anti-ice. Difficult. Let's go to the engine anti-ice. Where is it actually? Engine anti-ice. I'm going to turn it off because I don't think we need it. So pitch trim is still off. Auto feather is off. It's all in yellow. So auto feather is here. I'm going to put it into the arm position. Then the pitot heat, they're both off. So we should turn those on. The stall warning. I don't know if we need these here. Fuel vents, prop, auto. That's the ice protection. I have fuel vent, ice protection. Windshield is co-pilot and pilot, high or normal. So we can put it up into the normal position. And that's the defrost air for the screen, for the windscreen. And that's the pilot air, so we can put that on. Okay. Now let's see how much of these are still visible. So we have some air thingy which is not turned on. Let's see. That's the bleed air, probably bleed air valves. Let's see if we put that up. Will it go out? Yes. Then the oxygen is not armed. The oxygen. Where was the oxygen? It wasn't here. That's the fuel. So lights, and there's the engine fire. This is the cabin air. Wind blow. Pneumatic environment. Bleed air valve. So oxygen. Where would that be? That's the lighting up there. I guess I will still need to find this switch. It must be somewhere. Is it here? Cabin pressure. Cabin pressure dump? No. Rudder. Cabin altitude. I'm not sure if I need to do anything here. This is heading, course, okay. Well, let's see. Pitch trim off. Why would the trim be off? Pitch trim off. Okay, battery, legs, gentiles, actuator. So it's not here. It's also not here. That's the lights, hydraulic fluid sensors. Let's see if we find that pitch trim thingy. Hang on. Was that not here somewhere? EFIS power. Rudder boost, yaw control. Pitch trim. Power. There's the flaps, feather, fuel, pneumatics. So are the pneumatics on or off? It's hard to read. So down is off. Aft blower, electric heat. Aft heat, bleed air valves, manual, vent blower, window defog. So overspeed test, stall warning test. Yeah, I have not been able to find those two. So maybe they are part of the other checklists and we'll get rid of them. At the moment I don't know where to find them. Right, so let's release the parking brake. And have I got the taxi light on? Oh, we are in the beta range, yeah. And I don't think I have the taxi lights on, have I? Now it's the taxi lights are on. And this thing accelerates very quickly. And that is because we are... That's actually hard to see. Let me put the brakes in. And let me call up the... You see this? My experience with my first time is you need to try and get these into the beta, so which is kind of the ground idle. If you go too far, they go into reverse, okay? So I learned if I leave it roughly here, it will not try and win a Formula Una race. Okay, I said that and I am on a Formula Una race. Oh. No, I took them back and I actually need to use the keys for that. And it's very hard to see when we are in ground idle. I think we are in ground idle now. And then it gets strange. Now I got into reverse. I'm carefully using F3. I have programmed to F2 and F3 for throttle increase. Okay, I seem to have a good setting. I'm not sure if I should put the... Should I put the props and that into low idle? Okay, let's see. So does that help with the taxi? Because this thing is racing ahead if I don't do that. There we go. I think that does it. We are still accelerating. Still accelerating. But at least we are rolling. Oh. But you can see how fast we are getting. I'm steering with the rudder pedals and I'm also using the brake pedals. We're in Munich here. Very fast, so I'm using the brakes gently to slow down. And I'm using the throttle down key to just bring it into a position where it's not accelerating that quickly. I'm not sure what kind of effect this is. This looks a bit strange. Actually, I need to hold the key to stay in this position. And while we are here on the straight, I show you another aspect of the view menu. So this is inside. When you click on that camera thingy, you actually get the outside views, which are not helpful with taxiing. Because they are basically used to do the outside, the walk before we actually start. Okay, so let's see. Altitude, yeah, we're going to put in flight level 200. So the settings I have now seem to be quite okay. We're not getting too fast, or at least it is controllable. So when I show you this here again, yeah. So I'm slightly above this square here, still in the B mode. I have the props shortly before the feather, and I'm in the low idle of the condition, and that's the only way that this thing isn't racing away. So this was the checklist, by the way. So if I go to the
centered.
Stop.
Parking brake.
No. Too early. Yeah, that's the before takeoff and run up. So, but you can still see that we are accelerating a little bit. So I leave it rolling now. So we can see data mic 070 is on. So let me take out that window again. I accidentally closed it again. So let's see. So we are in map mode. Yep, and we are. Yeah, and I think we are slave to. So that would be. Yeah. So the heading, I can just see that our heading needs to be aligned. And the other thing I need to find out is if I have to do something in order to follow the course line. One thing that is that I realize is we don't have a magenta line, because normally we should see magenta. So it's not unlikely that we are missing something. Course VR2 FMS1. Aha. Okay. FMS1. Which should mean that we are looking at the FMS1. Yeah. Now that should be the correct thing. And that means when I activate nav mode, then we should be hopefully following that flight plan of ours. We shall see if that works. So we still have to go through the so-called run-up before we actually take off. Just to show you the checklist here. Okay, when I actually move the windows, the simulator stops. So I'm going to... Oh, I think I went a little bit far. I think we should have... we could have really turned much earlier than that. But it was busy now with the settings here. So I brought down the thrust lever a little bit more. And you can see now that we are not really accelerating. Okay, I'm going to set the parking brake. Yep, it's set. And now we're going nose wheel centered. Yeah, so the parking brake is set.
Set. Autopilot. Check. Rudder boost, yaw control test switch. Rudder boost. Pitch trim.
So the
takeoff position.
Pitch trim.
Pitch trim switch.
I think cycle off then on. Some pitch trim switch. Is this here off then on?
Cycle off then on.
So
trim tabs.
one of them lights
Set.
us out.
Ice protection. Check.
I think we are fine here.
Engine anti-ice.
Is supposed to be turned on.
On.
Okay.
Power levers. Idle. Auto ignition switches.
Auto ignition. We both put them into the arm.
Power levers.
So it wants us to bring it up now to about 17% torque. So I'm looking at the torque instrument, which is here, and I slowly bring it up to about 17%.
Advance above approximately 17% torque. Power levers.
So idle, power levers idle.
Idle. Auto ignition switches.
Off.
Off. Windshield anti-ice switches.
They're on. They want it on high.
High. Windshield anti-ice switches. Off, then normal. Windshield anti-ice switches. Off.
I want them off again.
Automatic prop de-ice switch.
Automatic prop de-ice switch. Automatic electrothermal prop de-ice. So surface de-ice, prop.
On. De-ice ammeter.
The de-ice ammeter is where? I think it's this one here.
From 26 to 32 amperes. Manual prop de-ice. Hold in manual position. De-ice ammeter.
0, yeah. The
0
prop amps.
amperes. Manual prop de-ice. Release. De-ice ammeter. From 26 to 32 amperes. Automatic prop de-ice switch.
Off.
Condition levers.
Into the high idle.
High idle. Pneumatic pressure.
Check.
Check. Surface de-ice switch.
They want that in the single cycle.
Single cycle and release. Surface de-ice switch.
Hold on the manual. That doesn't seem to work.
Hold manual. Surface de-ice switch.
Released.
Release. Condition levers.
Low idle.
Low idle. Rudder boost switch.
Rudder boost switch.
Rudder boost.
Into rudder boost.
Prop levers.
Fully forward.
Full forward. Prop governor test switch.
Prop governor test switch. That must be this here.
Hold to gov. Power lever individually.
Okay, that's the problem. I have only one axis.
Increase. Autopilot and trim disconnect switch.
Auto
Press first level.
pilot and
Rudder boost switch. Off on.
to the off on. Yeah.
Power lever. Idle. Prop governor test switch. Release.
Ah, I should have held
Prop
it.
levers.
Okay.
Full forward. Low pitch stop switch.
Low pitch. What? Ground idle stop. Is that it?
Hold to ground idle stop. Auto feather lights on. Power levers.
Caution. On
Oh.
taxiway. On
Airspeed
taxiway.
aligned. 60 knots.
Hello?
40 knots.
La la la. La 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 la. You know what, guys?
Set 1,500 RPM.
Yes, yes.
Prop levers.
Okay. I have to be very careful with this one. Fully forward.
Cycle. Low pitch stop switch.
Okay, I'm getting a little bit tired of this. I think we are through almost.
Release. Prop RPM. 1,150 to 1,250 Power RPM. Idle. Auto feather switch.
Oh my god. How much is that? I mean, we are in front of the runway and I have to go through 4 pages of run-up? Are you kidding me? Before takeoff, final items. I'm actually now here. Okay, let's start the checklist.
Bleed air valves.
Open.
Environmental bleed air. As required.
Whatever that means.
Electric heat. Off. Aft heat. As desired. Aft blower. As desired. Generator loads. Check. Battery ammeter. Check in the range from 0 to 10 amperes. Exterior lights.
Okay.
Set. On. Ice protection. As required. Auto ignition. Arm, if required. Auto feather. Check and arm.
I guess that's only for rain.
Enunciators.
Considered.
Headings, flight directors.
I think
Set.
I'm fine.
Prop levers.
Fully forward.
Full forward.
I still haven't found the oxygen.
Crew briefing.
We are
Complete.
briefed.
Transponder.
Il transpondero.
On. Brakes.
Released. Oh, I can't see that.
Released. Engine anti-ice. Off or as required. Before takeoff, final items checklist.
This is not good. I'm not going to use this
Complete.
automatic mode a lot, that's for sure. Because this is actually this is really irritating me. Okay, so the actual takeoff.
Brakes.
I'm on the brakes, I'm holding the brakes.
Hold. Power
So-
levers.
Set static power. Yeah, now normally what we can do is have to crossweight the runway length. Yeah, it is at least 10,000. Runway heading is 080. Runway gradient 0. Safety margin 10%. Flaps are up. Bleed air and air conditioning are on, and the engine anti-ice is off. So set the markers. So our V1 is at 95, rotation is at 104, and V2 is 112. Field length required 3,000 feet. That's fine. So go back here, power lever, set static power, brakes release. At V rotation, we are going to turn landing gear up, landing taxi lights off, yaw damper on. Airspeed V35 until clear of obstacles. Flaps up, 125 knots minimum. Takeoff checklist complete. So, since we don't have flaps, so I'm trying to keep all of the indications below the red and in the green.
Auto feather lights on.
And as you can see, we're
Airspeed alive.
accelerating quite heftily.
60 knots.
Check. And
V1.
and
Rotate.
rotate.
V2. Gear positive rate.
Positive rate, gear up. Is it coming up? Now it's coming up.
Attitudes check. Gear indicates up. Flaps indicates up.
Very good. Now, I'm activating nav and I'm activating indicated airspeed, and I'm activating the yaw damper and the autopilot. And I let the airplane take over. We're currently holding our speed at about 130. I think I'm going to increase this if I can. Okay. Now you can see that this is magenta here, so we're following the course apparently. Turning on the panel lights. And here you can actually... No, I think that we can leave on, so we can make things a little bit darker. And only have a very light floodlight going. Now I'm increasing the speed a little bit. So 5,000. That means we need 2992. Hard to see, but it's actually very difficult to see. So 2992 on this, and 2992 here. I wonder if you can switch this to millibar. We'll climb at about 1900 feet per minute. And about 160 feet. So when we look here with the takeoff, so let's go to the next. So this is the rolling takeoff. So this is the climb.
Yaw damp.
Is on.
Verify and on. Attitudes.
Compare.
Compare. Climb power.
Yeah, well, climb power. I guess it's set. We're going
Props.
to check. 1600 are set as desired. So what's the props? Here's the props. 1600.
Set 1600 RPM or as desired. Engine instruments.
Check.
Check. Ice protection.
So taxi lights we can turn off. Or no, they are off. Ice protection, I think we're fine.
As required. Windshield heat.
Normal.
Normal. Bleed air valves.
Bleed air valves are in the open position.
Open. Environmental bleed air. As required. Pressurization.
So the pressurization, yeah, I don't know, hard to see. Does that work now? Climb differential. The cabin is actually not climbing yet, it seems. I'm not sure why that is. Or maybe it's wrong, maybe that shouldn't be.
Climb and differential. Outside check. Confirm.
So we're at 10,000.
Exterior lights.
We can turn those off.
As required. Climb checklist.
Are we still following the flight plan? Yes, we are. We're still climbing at a good rate. And if you look at the performance, so that was the takeoff, that's going to be the landing. But when we look at the limits, let's quickly check. So, cruise climb to 20,000 with about 150. So we're slightly faster than the 150 that they tell us. But because we are below, so 160, and then from 15,000 we would be reducing to 150 knots, slightly. Very good. So we have turned. Good. So here you can see our course.
Complete.
the 10,000 feet.
Cabin sign.
Can turn them off now.
As required. Exterior lights.
So this is rather slow.
As required. Pressurization.
I don't know. Can I do this
Normal.
quicker? Normal, yeah. Oxygen control. No, I can't. So
Oxygen control.
oxygen control. I'm not sure where that is, to be honest. I'm a little bit confused about this whole oxygen thing. I don't think the cabin is climbing, so something is not right here. I think cabin air. I'm not sure that that this is correct.
Check. 10,000 feet checklist. Complete.
Oh,
Altimeters.
this is slow.
29.92. Pressurization. Normal.
Ugh.
Transition checklist. Complete. Cabin sign.
So I'm going to take this out again. As required, exterior lights as required, pressurization normal, oxygen control, 10,000 feet, checklist complete. The thing is,
Cabin sign.
I
As
don't seem to be
required.
able to shortcut this.
Exterior lights.
Oh no, come on. During flight, this is actually not a good mode. I don't really like it. So in the cruise power is set, out of feather is off, system check complete. We are almost in the cruise. Let's climb out. Yeah, I find them a little bit, they're not that practical, and now we have a lot of lights here on. So the oxy is not armed and we have low fuel quantity. Don't tell me that main tank. I should have probably put in a bit more fuel, the way it looks. Although we are still above 2000, but we're getting close to the yellow, especially on one tank. That's interesting. Now it's down. We're at 16,000 and we're a little bit too slow. Okay, we're a bit tight on the fuel, it seems. Oxygen not armed. So where the do I get this oxygen turned on? Is there a switch that I have not found yet? So what have we got here? ELT. That's the air temperature. That's the fuel. It's the avionics, battery bus. What? The parking brake is still set. How come? I must have got on the key or something. Yeah. That's the generators, bus sense, anti-ice. That's the lighting. That's ice protection. That's the lights. That's the prop sync. Then we have the can put it on weather radar mode here. But since we don't have precipitation, there shouldn't really be that much to see. That's the comm radios, that's the altitude. Altitude arm. I've activated altitude arm, yep. And so currently we're a little bit below 160 for the climb. I'm applying a little bit more power so that we are getting a bit faster. Now, this is the gyro suction, that's the pneumatic pressure. That's the air. Something needs to be armed, and I simply haven't found the bloomin' switch yet for it. So, this thing has actually... look, the cabin is actually climbing now. Okay, so at least for the cabin pressure, this is fine. This is the temperature, defog, cabin altitude, engine fire. But wherever that oxygen switch is, I don't know. I haven't found it yet. Give it a bit more power to increase the climb. Yeah, these turboprops are a bit slower than normal jet aircraft when it comes to that. So here's Ostes. Normally would then fly to BAMTA. This looks quite normal, but my experience is that it will probably do a boo-boo. Although we are a bit slower than jets, maybe there isn't as much a boo-boo with these slow aircraft. But I'm not going to take a chance because I'm going to then cut short. I'm going to cut short. By using the so bingo, going into the direct, and then I'm going to use Tusto. Going to go Tusto, not in nope. Why can I not do that? Try that again. To store, not in database. Why is that not in the database? What about bingo? Bingo, it will execute. It didn't do that. Ah, hang on. I didn't put it in yet. So bingo. Tusto. Don't ask me why, but now we're turning to Tusto, and I'm actually going to descend again to 15,000, so flight level 150. I'm going to use the indicated airspeed mode again, but I'm going to let it increase the speed a little bit. We're now increasing the speed, so I will start the descent with vertical speed for the moment. And I will let it accelerate. So try to be at least 220, and then I'm going to activate the indicated airspeed mode, currently on vertical speed. Yeah, somehow we can change these here, but there doesn't seem to be a speed bug in the classical sense. And it's not clear what airspeed it's actually going to hold, because there's no indication, at least none that I have seen. I'm now on IAS mode. You can see this here. It says IAS. And I'm reducing the power now. And I'm looking at the descent transition checklist now. Descent transition. 29 something. Add to airport. Pressurization. No, that's not what I need. So fuel balance check. Auto feather is armed. Ice projection is as acquired. Window defog is acquired. Windshield defrost is acquired. Destination weather we know. Approach procedure, recheck brief, cabin sign, consider exterior lights as required, altimeter set, descent or transition checklist completed. Okay. I'm actually reducing now to the 5,000. Now we need for the approach. I was a bit slow. That's exactly something that I need to train in more flights, because it's hard to judge what you need to do. We are almost at Landu. We should be at 150 at Landu, so we're a little bit high on that. So we're sticking now to 220. The IS mode seems to work nicely. We still haven't found the oxygen, but I'm not going to look for it now. I'm going to try and find it after the flight. And the fact that we have, well, we're not on bingo fuel. It will be okay for our trip, but yeah, we are in this orange area, which is basically, yeah, we're getting into the reserve probably on the main tanks. And we have nothing in the aux tanks, I think. So when we get to the performance for the landing, Landing weight, actual weight 10,511. Let's put in 10 then. Altitude at destination is about 1500. Barcode, yeah, the barcode, the pressure. This is actually not quite right, I guess. That never works properly here. I don't know if I can check it here. See, barometric pressure is 1013, 2992. Yeah, it is actually. It's manually configured weather. Okay, so where's my mouse? Mouse, where are you? Come back. I don't know, my mouse, yeah, here. So it's about 15 degrees at the airport. We have wind speed at, we have 4 knots. And the wind heading is 090, I think. Runway length is minimum 10,000. Runway heading at destination is 80. Runway gradient is 0. Safety margin 10%. Flaps down. And that means we have a V referent of 100. We have a flaps approach speed of 160. With a gear down limit of 184. And we have a field length required of 3,500, which is quite safe. By the way, the pilot operating handbook can be called from down there as well. Let's check the engine instruments. So the oil, all of that is still in the green areas. That's fine. Fuel flow. Not sure if that's a good one. I have no experience with this aircraft. The ITT is fine. The torque, I think, is fine. The prop is somewhere below 1600 because we're in a descent. And the turbine RPM is at about 79, 80 at the moment. Speed is 220. I've shortened the tour a little bit because it's so much slower than a jet. So it makes sense to have a bit less speed. Okay. We're already at 7,800. I think we've yeah, we are a little bit fast here. I need to reduce the vertical speed by a good bit. So when we look at the at our route, so we have arrived at MIQ, Mike. In the end, I gave it a bit too much of a sync rate. We're now going to turn, hopefully. Turn, yeah, there we go. Not sure what it's doing here, but it has a bit of a problem trying to get onto that new leg. Alright, there we go. I think I can give it a bit more now. It needs to get to the descent a bit more. So, fuel balance check, yeah, auto feather arm, descent transition checklist. So next is the approach checklist. Surface de-ice, auto feather check, arm, fuel balance, pressurization. I mean, the fuel balance is okay. Environmental bleed air low, cabin sign on, cabin conditions secure, exterior lights, landing data. So I think we can turn on the landing lights again. And I'm going to set the seatbelt lights again. 1000. Environmental bleed air. Put on low. Exterior lights, landing data, approach briefing is complete, altitude flaps, yep. So we're at 5000. And I'm going to let it reduce speed now. Something is wrong. No, it isn't. It's just the usual display problems. As you can see, I'm now reducing the speed. I let it reduce the speed. To about 180. And I'm going to arm the approach mode. But we need to switch and I'm going to activate the approach mode. So let's go into HRS mode. So we are localizer 1. There's the glide slope. There's the localizer. And we're now waiting for the localizer to come in. Course is 80. Glide slope is actually moving. Reducing power a little bit. I want to get back to 180. 11 miles. So localizer should start moving any moment. Here it is. Localizer is alive. And I think it's right now capturing the localizer. Yep. And it should capture the glide slope any moment. I think it did. It has started to descend. So let's have a quick check at the performance, no, at the limits. So the air control, the maximum flap extend speed, 202 for the approach. So we can already bring out flaps stage 1.
Flaps up.
It says flaps up, but it actually means first stage of flaps, which should continue to reduce our speed. I'm going to about 160, 8 miles. And I think I can bring out the gear now. You see the red light. And we have 3 green. Now the speed is reducing further. And I'm going to let it reduce to about 100 and something for the approach. Next stage of flaps. I think that's the last one. It's counteracting with trim. .9 miles. Reducing further. Just to check.
1,000 feet to minimum.
158 with full down, and the maneuvering speed, hang on, we have to look here. The ref is 100 knots, so I'm going to stay close to the 100 knots, which is this marker here. That is looking good.
Approaching
500 feet to minimums.
8 left.
Minimums. I'm not sure how I... hang on. I think I need to use... So, the autopilot is off.
Feet to minimums. .100 feet to minimums.
We're a little bit pushed.
minimums. .100 feet.
So we're at the minimums landing anyway
50
because
Deep landing. Deep landing.
yeah.
1,000 feet remaining.
Props full. Props full.
So I'm using the reversers now. I'm not braking at the moment. I'm in the beta range.
40 knots.
I'm out of beta range. And I'm using the F2 key or my throttle down key to get down into the ground idle. Oh, worked quite well, although this looks a bit odd. So on the ground with the joystick, it's a bit hard to keep a decent throttle setting. But with the keys, it's much easier than to use the joystick, because the joystick kind of switches between reverse mode and the other, and it stops actually at the alpha or whatever that's called, range. And you hear this strange noise. Okay, so parking brake on, and let's quickly check out what the so I'm in this strange mode. This is the reverse. Yeah, so let's stay there for the moment, putting this into low idle. And I'm taking these back as well. I'm not going to taxi back because I think not necessary. The landing was actually quite easy. You just have to get used a little bit to the kind of reactions of the airplane. It is quite docile, so no overreactions. I still need to find where the oxygen is turned on. And yes, we have been a little bit tight on the fuel. But yeah, we knew that it is a short one, so it could well be that I have used a little bit too much power during the flight. So that's something I need to also figure out. What's the best way of using this aircraft? As you can see, there's a lot of functionality in a lot of places. The checklist is also quite a nice feature. When you look at this here. So it's the before landing checklist, landing approach speed, exterior radar, and so on, normal landing, final time. So there's a lot of checklists, but it can be a little bit too much, especially during flight, and it takes ages to go through the automatic things. So I think I will most likely just use the normal checklist. Maximum reverse landing, after landing checklist. I need to use the one arrow. So prop levers fully forward. Landing seatbelt prior to landing, after touchdown. Power levers, lift ground fine, brakes as required. Actually, I want an after landing, yeah, about landing missing. I'm not sure what it's coming here with all this stuff. Engine anti-ice confirm on. Why do I need them on now? Okay. Auto ignition off. It is off actually. Exterior lights strobes off. Ice protection off. Break the ice cycle. Yeah, and so on. Trim the transponder into standby. Radar standby off. Bleed air valves, environmental off. That was somewhere down here. And after landing checklist complete, shutdown and secure. Okay, shutdown and securing. Shutdown and securing, so parking brake is set, electric heat. So we're now going to turn off the things. We're turning off a lot of the things. Okay, has become relatively quiet. The auto feather off. Okay, then FMS off, AFIS power switches off, 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 off. The oxygen control handles, wherever they are, off. Instrument emergency lights, battery charge, avionics master, and so on and so on and so on. I'm going to try and stop the... Yeah, so how do you stop them? Probably by going... Yeah. And then you simply turn off everything. Yeah. Now we don't have power. I was a little bit too fast for that. Let's quickly add the external power. And find the switch for it. Okay. There's the switch for it. Yeah. Anyway, this is quite an impressive aircraft. As I said before, it has a lot of depth, system depth, and there's a lot of functionality. It's not that you have to know everything there is to know about it in order to fly it. With the modes and if you don't take this checklist too serious, you can actually fly this aircraft quite easily without big problems. It handles well on the manual steering, at least for me it did. And as you can see, all the intercept of the ILS and all that kind of stuff worked perfectly. I've seen worse. I've seen worse on my rounds. So yeah, I think this is a very nice airplane, the Kingair, but yeah, in order to fly with it better than I did now, you really need to train and kind of get used to this aircraft. There's no doubt about that. The checklist, nice feature, can be a little bit too much. So I'm actually thinking of getting myself a clist.txt for the X checklist done up. Which may be a little bit less, a bit quicker than these checklists. Although for the beginner and then you start, as we have seen now, it's quite helpful because it moves things everywhere. But that's okay on the ground. It's not so okay in the air. And maybe I can change something in the way the checklists are used that makes it a bit better. It's a great idea. It just didn't come over to me as practical as I would think it would be. But again, maybe I find a way of using this checklist without the kind of disturbances that I had using it. Right, that's it. The Airfoillabs. It's not a cheap aircraft, but I think you do get an awful lot of aircraft for your money. It looks good, it flies good, and there has been already a couple of patches. Oh, by the way, there's a bit of a strange one when you have outside views in the classical way with your views stored in X-Plane. Everything that's outside will only be there as long as you press that key that you programmed. So your numeric keypad key or something. As soon as you let go, you're in again. That's a bit, yeah. So there are these outside views, but they are not helpful in flight because they are geared to check the aircraft and do the kind of walk around. Okay, you can also get yourself into the cabin, which we actually haven't seen, I think. So let's quickly turn on all the lights. Co-pilot, pilot, side panel, avionics. See if that also gave us some light here. No, there's probably some other lights that we could do, or you know what? Why don't we just make it bright again? There shall be light, and then here you can see the cabin, and you can bring out TVs and trays, table trays. Maybe not everything together. Okay, so that's the way you do it. And the door is here at the back. I'm not sure if you can open it by clicking somewhere here, probably. There you go. And then you can move out of the aircraft. Very good. That's it. Interesting. There are click spots where you can bring the... What does that do? That closes the door. That may not have been a good idea, but anyway. Okay. So, that is it. The Airfoillabs Kingair 350, really nice airplane. And I'm sort of glad that I got it. Definitely. Have to try and maybe use it now for some nice tours somewhere in Europe or in the US. Until next time. Bye.